If we turn the visibility of sketch number 1 back on, we see that we have the basic outline of this handle for the front view, if we call this the front, looking at it in this direction. So we also need to create the outline of it looking from the top direction. And so I'm going to start a new sketch on that top plane, and again, make sure that you have the clamping handle as your active component, and I'll then do a new sketch on this plane. So I'll select that plane and I'll tell it to create a sketch, and then I'm going to draw a rectangle about the origin, something like that. I'm going to hide the visibility of the previous two sketches, and I'll hide the origin for now, and I'll look at this from the top view. And I'm going to draw a line from the midpoint of this line over to the midpoint of this line, and then I'm going to change these two lines to construction lines. And so those two are construction, and I'll do coincident this line to the origin. I'll put some dimensions on here, and so the distance from here to here I'll dimension is 0.475, and then I'm going to dimension the distance from here over to here also as 0.475, but I want the line on this edge to be tied to the previous geometry. So I'm going to turn on sketch number 1, and I want to get this tangent point right out here, so this point would come tangent to this point. And probably the best way to do that, and there's several different ways we could do that, but I'm going to finish sketch, and I'll go back to edit sketch 1, and I'm going to put a construction line across here. So I'll do a construction line over here horizontally to that location, and I'll change that to construction. So I need to make sure I change that to construction, and then I'll go back to this sketch, and so I'll go to sketch number 3, and somehow I got these out of order, but I can just move these at some point. So I'm going to edit this sketch, and I'm going to do P for project geometry, and I will select this point or this line. I'd like to just get the point, but it looks like I'm going to have to get the line. I might be able to get just a point, so right there I get just a point, and then I'll do coincident this line to that projected point, and that all turns black. It's all fully defined. I'm going to finish sketch and see if I can get these reoriented. Somehow I changed my orientation between 2 and 3. It doesn't really matter what order those come into, but actually down here it's showing as sketch 3, it's showing that as sketch 2, and so here's another anomaly in Fusion 360 that explain that one to me. I don't really know, but it is what it is. That's going to cause me some confusion. If I could drag that, so I've got this sketch 3 down here, and drag it back over here, so that's sketch 3. Okay, somehow I got them back in order by dragging them in the timeline. I'll turn off sketch 1 and 2, and I will now continue on sketch number 3. While I'm projecting geometry, I better project additional geometry from sketch number 1. So let's edit sketch 3. I have sketch 1 visible. I'll do P for project. I'm going to also project this line into my sketch number 3, and I'll change that to construction line type. Alright, then I'll look at this from the top view, and I'm going to draw a circle somewhere on this line over to the end of the projected line from sketch 1. I'll dimension this, and I want to dimension this as a radius, so I'll right click and I'll say radius dimension, and I'll do that as 0.1875. I'm then going to draw a 2-point rectangle over here someplace in space, and I will change this line to construction, and I will then do a midpoint between this line and this line, and I'll put some dimensions on here. So I'll dimension the distance from the origin. As much as possible, my dimensions will always come from the origin, and I will put in 2 inches in that direction, and I'm going to put in this direction a dimension of 0.415. We see all the geometry turns black. It's all fully constrained. Now I want this line right here to be construction, so I'll change that to construction. It's kind of hard to see, but these 2 lines are construction right here. I changed both of those earlier, but I want an object line going from here to here and an object line going from here to here. So I'll do an object line from here to here. It's really important to carefully follow all of these steps. I know from past experience that beginners are not going to catch the step where I change these lines to construction lines. We have to be careful, and it's hard to see when we zoom out. They look like object lines now, but you know, these 2 lines right here were both construction lines, and then only object lines from here to here and from here to here. I'm then going to do a tangent arc. Now I have a line here and I have a line here, so it might be difficult to do the tangent arc. But I'll do a tangent arc. I'm going to come across this line rather than come from here up. I'll come across this line and hope that it'll do a tangent to this line automatically, which it does, and I'll dimension that arc with a radius of 3.11, and let's drag that back a little bit. Now unfortunately I don't have a top view image. I started out with a top view image of my locking pliers to get these dimensions, but then at some point I erased my image, and so I no longer have it. So we'll just have to figure this out as we go along. I'm going to draw another 2-point rectangle over here someplace in space, and then I'm going to change these 2 lines to construction lines. So the 2 vertical lines to construction lines. I'm going to dimension the distance from this edge back to the origin. I'll do that a distance of 4.5, and then I'm going to dimension the distance from, well, let me hold off on that for a minute. I'm just going to drag this. Now when I drag this, I see that it isn't symmetrical about the origin, and I meant for it to be symmetrical. So I'm going to do a horizontal constraint, and I'll hold down the shift key and I'll get the midpoint of this line. I want that to be horizontal with the origin. We'll say that I did that just so that I could show you how to do that horizontal constraint. And then I will do a tangent arc. Again, I'm going to scrub along this line. I want this tangent arc to come this way, and then I want this arc to eventually connect to this arc right here. Let's go ahead and put a dimension in here first, and so I'm going to do this as 2.07 as my dimension, and then I'll do coincident this point to this point, and I also want those 2 to be tangent, so I'll do tangent this arc to this arc, and then I'm going to draw a arc over here, and I'll do a 3-point arc for this arc. So I'll do from here to about here, about like that. I'll dimension the radius of this arc as 0.555, and then I'm going to draw a line from here down vertically, and I also want this line to be 0.555, so I'll dimension the length of this line as 0.555, And then I want this to stay centered up. So the trick that we saw before, I will go into horizontal, I will shift, select the midpoint of this line, I'll select the origin. Now I could pick this line over here. I prefer to always use the origin for most everything that I do. I'm going to change this line to construction. Right? And then I'm going to dimension the distance from the center of this circle over to this line, and I'm going to do that as 0.8. Now as you put in these dimensions, because I eyeballed some of these locations, you may have to drag geometry around to get it to look closer to what my geometry appears to look like. And then I'm going to draw a line tangent to this arc. So I hold the mouse button down. Notice it's going to put the tangent. I hold the mouse button down. I'll come up to the end of this arc. I'll then make this arc tangent to this line. So I'll do tangent this arc to this line. Notice everything turns black. It's all now fully defined. So now I need to repeat the same arcs and lines on the other side. I may be able to mirror this geometry. So let's see if we can do a mirror. And so I'm going to do mirror, and I'll select this line, this arc. I already have that line, this arc, and I'll mirror that about that center line that we projected earlier. And I see that I still have to get that line, and so I'll also mirror this line about the projected line. Now I'm a little bit hesitant in using the mirror command. Sometimes what I'll do instead is I'll go ahead and put the geometry in here, and then I'll use symmetry instead of mirroring the geometry. I need to trim out this part of the arc here, and that sketch stays fully constrained. And so I'll finish sketch, and again, these vertical lines, all of these vertical lines except for this one on the end and this short one right here and this short one right here, those are all construction lines. Only the outside edge is object line going all the way around here. So that completes sketch number 3.